So let's go there. Your favorite game. I mean, you got this in here every week. Checkdown game. We're going to give you a question, give you 2 answers, and we're going to give you the answer that we feel is best.
Hey,
so
my arm doesn't allow for the 30-yard passes, so I got to take the check.
It never did. So first question, sticking with the Super Bowl.
See, you said you're not rude to me. We talked about this before we got on the air.
I literally watched you throw a football multiple times per week for like 3 years. Like I got the up close evaluation. I've seen this.
After the 5-yard check down, perfect.
Exactly. You very Brock Purdy-ish. More pressure in the Super Bowl, Kyle Shanahan or Brock Purdy?
I think this is the easy one. It's Shanahan. I mean, it's Kyle Shanahan by a large margin. 2 things: 28-3. We know what that means, and 20-10, which was the fourth quarter score, or the score going into the fourth quarter 4 years ago against the Chiefs, and they lose 31-20, I believe. Like, how does that happen? And listen, Jimmy G, like I said, he was the excuse. He took a lot of heat for it. Well, Kyle Shanahan, if you don't win,
coach him up. Coach him up. You're the greatest, right?
He's no more blame to go around. He's
the smartest freaking guy in the league when it comes to offense. Scheme him up.
You've been saying that.
I agree.
McVay's my guy.
Yeah, we already talked about it. Shanahan, man. He has the most to lose by losing this game. Like he. You know how I can tell that the obvious answer is him? He's so nervous. He already out drinking during press week. He's showing up to interviews on what they call it, the row, where everyone goes and does the interviews.
Media row. Why aren't we there? Media row. Why aren't we there?
We broke. He's going to media row drunk and hungover. That tells me that he knows the significance and pressure of this game. Think about it.
I watched his interviews on media row.
They got the images of him out the night before. I think he was wearing the same clothes. Like, he drinking, he know the pressure. That's how you know this shit is real.
He had a Coca-Cola and something to eat. And
bro, you the only person that goes out after 8 o'clock and has no alcohol. Everybody ain't you. Next one, more pressure in the Super Bowl. Travis Kelce or George Kittle?
I mean, listen, most of the pressure in this game is going to be on San Francisco. It's George Kittle. He's 30, going to be 31 in October. They didn't win last time, and he feels like him and Kelce are comparable measures. And what I worry about George Kittle is because he's turning 31 are injuries. We've seen it before take large chunks of the season out for him. And again, the other question, in addition to his injuries, how long can San Francisco keep this team together where they're perennial Super Bowl contenders? I mean, it's been 5 years now, right? 4 years ago, plus
how long
this
can they keep this core together as all pros? Like you said, like, I mean, injuries going, they're older guys. Like all these guys
eventually their level of play, the older guys will fall off. Like there's other guys in their primes, but some of these guys are not in their primes anymore.
It's funny, man. I want to say George Kittle mainly because his story out of these two is not set in stone. Like, I feel like he could be one of those guys that we forget about maybe like 15 years from now.
That's a good point.
He also said this the last time he was in the Super Bowl. He said he was going to come back with a fucking vengeance. So I'm expecting him.
Right.
I'm expecting him to come out like that George Kittle, was it 2015, where he was like averaging like 30 points a game in fantasy for a stretch. I'm expecting that George Kittle, 11 catches, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. I'm expecting that guy to show up.
The Kittle where people were leaning toward drafting him over a guy like Gronk.
Exactly. Now, with all that being said, I'm going to go with Travis Kelce just because he got so much focus on him. Like, everything is about him. Think about it. Everything is so much about Travis Kelce that, like, we are just glossy over the fact that Mahomes has had a mediocre year. He's had a mediocre playoff run. It's Travis Kelce, man. Like, we want to see him go out on top. He might be a guy that's talking about retirement if they win. Taylor Swift is in the building, so we know that's going to be like the big storyline that everyone's talking about. They're talking about it all year. They're going to be talking about it all game. Like, I think he's under the most pressure because what if he goes out there and doesn't play well at all? Like, if he don't play well, the Chiefs are probably going to falter, and that's going to be the storyline. It's like, oh, her boyfriend's out there not playing well. What's going on? He got the most pressure. Like, the casual NFL fan probably don't even know George Kittle was the only tight end to have 1,000 yards this year. So that lets you know, like, nationwide, maybe worldwide, to non-football or casual football fans, he ain't got that kind of pressure. It's always going to be Travis Kelce.
Maybe. I think the Taylor Swift fans will still be okay with Travis Kelce. So
we'll see if he proposes to her. Let's go to your city, man. DC. More likely, Caleb Williams, future number 1 overall pick. More likely he plays in Chicago or he plays in his hometown, DC.
It's Chicago. And I think the reason is a lot of people now all of a sudden put DC on the radar because the whole Kliff Kingsbury, he coached, Caleb Williams at USC. It seems like they got along really well. The family seems to like Kliff Kingsbury. But unlike Arizona, where Kingsbury came in and drafted his guy, Kyler Murray, number 1 overall, in this instance, Chicago holds all the chips in the cards and not Washington. Whereas Arizona had the number 1 overall, basically Kliff Kingsbury had a blank canvas to do whatever he wanted to do. Now, it didn't work in Arizona with Kliff Kingsbury.
Where did it work with Kliff Kingsbury? Well, like, we being honest.
Yeah, that is a very valid point. And why would this be any different in DC in terms of him having success? So I don't think Washington is going to mortgage their whole future for the offensive coordinator. Because you got to remember, Kliff Kingsbury's not the head coach. He's the OC. So he's going to have some say maybe in who they draft.
But let's be real. The coach is Dan Quinn. He's defense. So maybe he will have more say on the offense.
But the difference is I don't think he'll have that much cachet for them to mortgage their future to jump up. If they were already sitting at number 1, sure, like they go Caleb Williams, but they don't here. So I think the only reason why DC is getting mentioned is the whole, they're bringing in Kliff Kingsbury because they're ready to make a move for Caleb Williams at number 1. No, like pump the brakes. That's not true. Chicago's going to draft Caleb Williams.
All right. I agree with you that I do think he'll play in Chicago, but I disagree with you for the reason why. I think, one, the Bears actually do not hold all the cards in this situation. I think they hired all these people in Washington because they know if we don't pay this ridiculous price to move to get Caleb, there are 2 other guys that people think are top 5 quarterbacks. Like, they could be franchise quarterbacks. Drake May at number 2 without giving up any assets is not a loss. Like, in any other year, he would go number 1 and it wouldn't even be looked at. Same thing with Jaden Daniels. Like, everybody thinks he is a franchise quarterback. So there's not many drafts where there's 3 or 4 guys at the top of the draft where like, are they really that much different than the guy that everyone says going number 1 overall? And I think the Bears, they got to get rid of Justin Fields. They've also geared up on offense with all this staff and stuff like that. They brought in these weapons. They required all these draft picks. Like, they plan on getting Caleb Williams. Like, you can't pass up on this guy, especially after what we've seen with Justin Fields. So I do think he'll be in Chicago. Like, there's no way Ryan Poles could pass up on Caleb Williams and like keep his job. Like, it's just not happening.
Right.
He will keep his job if they make that pick and they're wrong. Like, everyone will understand that if Caleb Williams doesn't pan out. But if you pass on him to keep Justin Fields, like, that's a fireable offense, like we always say.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
I agree.
Oh, no, it's not a next one.
Yeah, you just trying to take my job.
No, I thought I had one more question.
Yeah, sure. All right, so of all of the head coaching, well, I should say all of the head coaching vacancies in the NFL have been taken, but one candidate, former head coach Mike Vrabel, has been left without my twin. What has been left without a head coaching job? I've never been compared to him.
Well, you're not as tall as him, but
well, I'm glad you say that because there's a report out there. Great leadway into this. Great segue, JT.
Can you just take the alley-oop, man? I tried to set you up, make it seem organic.
I had to terrible at this. I had to lay it up.
Christ, man.
So I'm glad
Netflix, don't ever give this dude a comedy special.
I'm not a comedian. I never said I was.